breaking rules when necessary. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We're live here on WYAB, streaming worldwide on WYAB.com as well as the TuneIn app. And you can always find the podcast. Just search Clay Edwards Show. It's usually up by 10:30, 11 o'clock at the latest. Been spending a little bit more time lately breaking it down into additional clips and better descriptions and all that stuff, really trying to take my game to the next level and really grow this thing. So it's not up quite as early as it used to be. Hey, real quick, man, I want to welcome a new partner to the show, Auto Trim Designs, right over there on Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. Are you looking to give your vehicle a makeover that turns heads everywhere you go? Look no further than Auto Trim Designs on Highway 80 in Pearl, just west of JD Byrider, or Byrider, I guess it's called now. Hey, look, man, you know where Auto Trim Design is. I mean, going all the way back to the early 90s, those guys have been in that same location. If you're heading east on 80, they're right there on the left, right before you get into what you call they're in the heart of Pearl. So just right there. If you're heading east, they're on the left. If you're coming towards Jackson from Pearl, they're going to be on your right. Look, their expert team, should I say, uses the latest technology and the highest quality materials to ensure your ride stands out from the rest. Services include installation of industry-best window tint film from Lumar. Auto Trim uses only the Lumar ATR series metallized window tint. It rivals the competition's ceramic films. Protect your vehicle with the exceptional Expel Ultimate Plus paint protection film. They offer the Stealth, the Ultimate Plus 7, the Ultimate Plus 10, and the Ultimate Plus Black series. With extensive experience in custom graphics and striping of all kinds, Auto Trim Design can design something custom for you, or can bring your own ideas to them. So, hey, just go tell them what you want. They can make it happen for you. Visit them online, autotrimdesigns.com. That's autotrimdesigns.com to explore services and see examples of what is possible. Auto Trim Designs, where your imagination meets reality, on the road, driving style only with Auto Trim Designs. Again, the website, autotrimdesigns.com. Go see my old buddy Greg over there. Greg been tinting windows for as long as I've been alive. Used to be in the mini truck scene, custom car scene, all that stuff. Good folks, man. Good folks. Been around forever. Glad to have them on board. Sean.
Yep.
Enjoyed that segment there.
Yeah.
Didn't plan on that. Was a little unplanned segment.
Using my ethnic heritage to get out of tickets, right?
Well, I mean,
what are you going to do?
You were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah.
So,
hey.
Dr. Fauci and Marjorie Taylor Greene went round and round, or more like Marjorie Taylor Greene used Dr. Fauci as a punching bag. And in this, Dr. Fauci admits that he was just making it all up as he went.
Okay.
The 6 feet thing, the mask thing, all that. Just made it all up. Ruined people's lives, businesses, had us normal, good, God-fearing Americans shouted down in grocery stores, called Nazis because we didn't want to wear a mask, asked, did you want to kill Grandma?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Do you want to kill Grandma? Look, Grandma's lived a good life. Maybe it's time to make room for somebody else. That's all I'm saying. I'm kidding. Look, anyway, here we go. Let's listen to it if y'all ain't heard it yet.
Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
And I apologize. It's got some music behind it. This is the only clip I could find on Twitter last night when I had the time to look.
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as you don't know what you represent.
But
this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is...
So the visual would help a little bit here. These are the experiments where they put the dogs' heads in the boxes and really, really gross, inhumane things. There's some beautiful little, what appear to be beagles here. By the way, any of us would be put in jail for this.
Disgusting and evil, what you signed off on.
And this little bastard sitting here laughing.
And these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent. You confess that you made up the COVID rules. including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science. And making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer.
Fauci is no more a doctor than Jill Biden is.
That man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Don't
prison.
let him suspend.
Here you are without your mask.
So this is great. This is a picture of Fauci and his, I guess, wife and one of his kids at a baseball game. They're the only people in the stands, and he got to throw out the first pitch.
Where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science is displayed.
This photo here is some kids like on a stage playing trumpets and band stuff, and they're in these little green pods 6 feet apart from one another in like a high school band auditorium. Just let's revisit some of the stupid nonsense that happened during COVID. I can never get enough of this stuff.
Perfectly in this picture were children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
So I want to say one thing, too. I've been waiting for 2 days to call these people out. The Rankin County School District and the Madison County School District. We went to meetings and board meetings for both of these things about this very topic, taking those masks off those kids, and they refused to do it multiple times. They waited as long as they possibly could to finally allow kids to go to school without masks. Shame on y'all. We told you we were right. You were wrong. You as well should be a part of the upcoming Nuremberg Trials 2.0. Now, Sean, this is what woke you up, right? Was all this nonsense?
Yeah, they're a lot. I wouldn't say the way Miss Green says it because she's, but yes, what bothered me at the time during COVID was specifically of course, at the beginning of COVID, we all remember none of us knew what was going on in March of 2020. Everybody was confused about things, and they're saying do this, do that, whatever it is.
I think first 60, 90 days, people are way more willing to say, let's work through this.
Yeah, and then when they started shutting businesses down for an extended period of time, I was starting to wonder, well, is there a Fifth Amendment, like a takings problem? You know what I mean, like a taking property without just compensation by the government. I feel like and then I saw some people actually wrote some law review articles about that at the time real quickly, and so I started getting interested in that. And then that letter is the one that hit me. That letter about
the letter from the UMC.
Well, once the George Floyd thing happened, then there was all the protests, and then there was a letter from all these hundreds of medical professionals that said that systemic racism was as much of a public threat as the virus, so the protests were okay where other things were not. And I was like, well, does the virus understand the difference between a protest and other kind of gathering? And that's where I was kind of like, wait a second, this is a little political snow job right here.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'll just never forget the right to work rally that was thrown here in Jackson at the Capitol. And all the nut jobs screamed that everybody that went to that and wanted to go back to work were just a bunch of Nazis that wanted to kill grandma.
Right. I mean, they were making,
and of course got called racist because somehow wanting to go back to work was going to kill black people too.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing, they were sitting there also, they told, again, this goes to my rule following thing, with the police, like we said last segment. Well, so they're telling us all to stay home and do all these things that I'm doing because I'm trying to listen and be a good citizen. And then there's the George Floyd thing and the protests, right? Which I'm not saying I'm against any protests or whatever. It is what it is. But my point was, you're telling everybody to stay home. Like, this is what you've told everybody: shut all their businesses down, destroy the economy. Everybody needs to stay home for the health of the country. Fine. But then you're saying, well, but if it's related to systemic racism, that's as much as this is what they specifically said, it's as much of a public health threat as the virus. And then so go out there and congregate and have these protests, and that's okay. But then if you want to do another kind of protest, well, since we don't agree with that, then you can't do that. And this wasn't politicians writing this letter. That's what bothered me the most about it. Like, I could see, somebody on the right or the left writing something like that. But these are like doctors that are saying, we believe this. And that, to me, was disingenuous to the public, and that's when I really started having problems with a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, circling back to the cops part of this, the very cops that were arresting business owners for running online boutiques during COVID, the very cops that were arresting people for sitting out on the beach, the very cops that were arresting people for surfing out in the middle of the ocean during COVID, and I can go on and on and on, harassing folks in the grocery store for not wearing a face mask. Those very cops were the same ones out there at these George Floyd rights bending the knee and apologizing for stuff they never did. Now, I want my damn bent knee apology for putting us through the hell y'all put us through for 2 damn years. I want an apology from the school districts for putting those kids through that. And we ain't even got to the vaccine yet. That's coming up in the next segment. We will be right back. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Mazda Jackson phone line 601-879-0002. Guns and Gear text line 769-241-1944. I got your text. We'll read some more of them when we come back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We're live here on WYAB. Guys, get out tonight. It's the finals of Cordless Corner right there at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, downtown Brandon. We're down to the last 3 acts. It's going to be so exciting to see these guys and girls who have worked their butts off for the last 5 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it's been, come down to tonight for all the cash prizes, concert appearances, and more that they're going to come their way. We're super excited about it. Starts at 7. We'll be there till 10 p.m. I will be there with a box full of FAFO shirts and tank tops. I'm picking the tank tops up today. I will be there in person, judging, obviously, and I will have shirts with me. Would love to see y'all out there. Come by, see us, grab a shirt, grab something to eat, and enjoy just a night full of great entertainment. I keep saying it, Mississippi's greatest export is Mississippians. And, man, when you come see these talented musicians do their thing, you'll understand what I mean. If it's been a while since you've gone to seen a, air quotes, local act, man, you are in for a surprise. Cookie Woo, little brother and sister from Meridian, definitely grew up with a hard rock influence. Somebody in the family, presumably the mom and dad, loved hair metal. And these kids definitely are influenced by that. You got the Stevens brothers, they're 2 brothers here locally that country acts. They're going to be in Nashville one day and probably soon. And I forget who the third person is off the top of my head. I'm sorry, this is an unplanned segment, unplanned read here. But there's the third person who I'll remember in a minute. I'll make sure I give them their glory. But get out here tonight to Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. Kicks off at 7. Hey, don't forget, man, Burgers, Blues, Barbecue Flowwood is now open, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner 6 days a week. It's open right now for breakfast. Stop by, grab the chicken and waffles. Don't forget they got multiple food trucks, too, and plate lunches every day that they're open, or Monday through Friday. Let's take a phone call here real quick. Not Your Average Joe is on the line. Hey, brother.
Hey, Clay. You know, you were talking about just the hypocrisy and stuff with the whole COVID policies and stuff like that. I'd heard on Mike Madison's show this day before yesterday, and he was talking about the amount of rebates that the doctors get for when they vaccinate their patients.
Uh-huh.
And he was saying that it's like it accumulates to like over $1 million a year. That was like one doctor who said that that's what he was getting. Another doctor said, they regretted not pushing it because it ended up a difference of like over $1 million. And I thought to myself, is that not a conflict of interest, especially if the government is paying for the shots, but the pharmaceutical companies give some of that money back as a rebate to the doctor to push the vaccine?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And not to mention it's a forced inoculation, typically.
And so the doctors aren't even operating out of the benefit of their patients. Because, I'll say my local doctor, when all that stuff was going on, and I had educated myself and had strong opinions against the vaccine, and he would go, well, you go in for a cough or a cold, and you want the COVID shot? I'm like, no, I don't want the COVID shot. And I'm like, well, I said, why not? It's great. And I said, no, it's not. I said, I don't trust the mRNA technology. He said, well, take the Johnson & Johnson. It doesn't have it in it. I said, yes, it does. Well, then you want to get the flu shot. And even before COVID came out, local doctors, local schools were getting rebates, like private schools and things like that, getting rebates from pharmaceutical companies to push the vaccine on their students. To me, that just, I'm like what Sean just said. I had lost so much confidence in the medical establishments for the way they handled that thing and the way they were bought off and they pushed stuff just because they were getting money back on it.
Look, brother, this is the very reason I had a good family doctor and still do that told me early on. He said, Clay, I asked him, I was like, they said ask your medical professional about it. Don't just get all your information off Facebook and the internet. So that's exactly what I did. I asked my doctor, should I get this vaccine? This was before it got super politicized. You know what I mean? And
right.
He said, no, don't do it. For the most part, you're healthy. You need to lose a little weight. He said, this is a pandemic of variants. And he said that before I ever heard anybody in the media talk about pandemic of variants. He said, by the time they get the vaccine for this, you'll need another one for the next. And it's always going to be running a variant behind. And, man, could he have not been more right? And I lost faith in our major medical industry, but man, did I gain it in our local hometown doctors that weren't pushing this nonsense.
I wonder how much your doctor lost in not pushing and getting rebates back, and that's a respectable point on your doctor.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I hadn't had to go see him. Knock on wood, but because I took his advice, and when I did get COVID and I was sick for a week or so, I took that opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to get sick again. I'm going to get healthy, and that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years now. Hey, brother, look, I got to play something before we go to the next break, man. I'm gonna cut us short here, but thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Sean, I want to play this, and we're just going to go to break after it, and we can kind of break it down a little bit before the top of the hour. Mm-hmm. It's 3.5 minutes long. I want to remind y'all, especially all my unvaccinated people out there by choice and my people who got forced inoculated, I want to remind you all who the enemy in this country is, and it is the mainstream media. Here is a compilation of the mainstream media blaming everything on the unvaccinated and guilting, and not just mainstream media, politicians as well, guilting us all into getting the vaccine so we don't kill them.
You are the unvaccinated. You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem, period, end of story.
The only people that you can blame, this isn't shaming, this is the truth. Maybe they should be shamed, are the unvaccinated.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
Anyone you came into contact with will blame you, as will the rest of us who have done the right thing by getting vaccinated.
Because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
I think it's time to get our moral house in order, Anderson. It's the unvaccinated who are the threat.
All the vaccinated folks are going to start wearing masks to protect the unvaccinated folks. It's called a Christian value.
You're basically punishing the vaccinated for the sins of the unvaccinated.
People are not behaving honorably. The unvaccinated are basically saying, well, it's open season for me. I can do whatever I want as well.
The unvaccinated are basically beating their breasts, running around the country saying, we don't care, we're living free, and so forth.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
The unvaccinated, a group that includes children and people acting like children. And the rest of us are starting to get pissed off.
The vaccinated feel the unvaccinated are making me upset or angry.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
The other day, Howard Stern weighed in with a much different approach. Take a look.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? Their freedom.
But you're treading on our freedom and you're making other people sick, and really you're killing other people.
The anti-vaxxers, they seem to have a thing for death and home remedies.
The anti-maskers turned anti-vaxxers are not just putting their own lives at risk. If that was the issue, we could just say that we can watch them compete to win place or show in the Darwin Awards.
We have to start doing things for the greater good of society and not for idiots who think that they can do their own research.
And don't get me started on the lunatics who won't take any of the COVID vaccines.
Life is too short to be an ass. Life is way too short to be ignorant of the promise of something that is helping people worldwide.
Maybe you're doing it because you're disconnected or disorganized. Maybe you have some sympathetic psychological reasons. But maybe you're just being antisocial.
Oh, you can't shame them. You can't call them stupid. You can't call them silly. Yes, they are.
Those who are not vaccinated will end up paying the price.
The unvaccinated should be taxed. They should pay more for health care.
We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same as we look at driving while intoxicated.
We're going to see, and I've said, almost two types of America.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack, yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Pointing back to the unvaccinated who are really creating a problem in this country, every death that we are seeing from COVID could have been prevented.
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you.
Shame on y'all. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show with Sean Yerkeron. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We got about a minute and a half here. I want to play Dr. Fauci admitting that the COVID vaccine was not 100% effective, and it's going to take us to our top of the hour break. We'll discuss on the other side.
The vaccine saved millions of lives, and I want to thank you for your support and engagement on that. However, despite statements to the contrary, it did not stop transmission of the virus. Did the COVID vaccine stop transmission of the virus?
That is a complicated issue because in the beginning, the first iteration of the vaccines did have an effect, not 100%, not a high effect. They did prevent infection and subsequently, obviously, transmission. However, it's important to point out something that we did not know early on that became evident as the months went by, is that the durability of protection against infection and hence transmission was relatively limited, whereas the duration of protection against severe disease, hospitalization, and deaths was more prolonged. We did not know that in the beginning. In the beginning, it was felt that, in fact, it did prevent infection and thus transmission, but that was proven as time went by to not be a durable effect.
Yeah, it definitely had a positive effect for many people, especially those that were vulnerable. But we knew from the trials that people that got vaccinated.
We will see y'all on the other side of this break. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Sean Yerkeron. We'll be right back to discuss all this and more. Boom goes the Dynamitis, hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the radio in all of Mississippi. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I am, of course, Clay Edwards. This is the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality. radio. And man, hour one was as reality as it gets. I got Sean Yurtkaran here in the studio with me. This segment's going to be brought to you by our friends over at Pure Air Consultants. I'll tell you what, my power went out for about 30 minutes yesterday. Thankfully, that was it. My girlfriend went out for 5 or 6 hours. And look, just inside that 30 minutes, with it rainy and cloudy outside, my house got hot quick. I mean, it got up to every bit of 72, 73 degrees in there with the power out for a few minutes, and I was dying. I thought I was going to die. It was even worse outside. Anyway, but it just got me to thinking how terrible it would be if my air went out during the daytime for multiple days. I'd have to get a hotel room, go stay with my girlfriend, something. But look, ever wonder why your AC has stopped working? The common reasons for this issue include issues like a flip switch, a dirty condenser, an improperly sized unit, an old unit, and a malfunctioning thermostat. For over 40 years, Pure Air Consultants has been delivering exceptional cooling systems to Central Mississippi, and they want to offer you a rare gift, a free labor warranty for 5 years. Man, I'll tell you what, you ever had to pay an HVAC guy, you understand that a free labor warranty for 5 years is priceless. New construction builds, thermostat installation, and more. Financing is available. Pure Air Consultants also specializes in air duct cleaning, air duct sealing, and dry vent cleaning. Make sure you are breathing clean air, and it's as clean and fresh as possible. Check them out online, mypureairconsultants.com. That's mypureairconsultants.com. And let's go straight to the Mazda of Jackson phone line. Y'all have been blowing it up today. I hate to not answer it. Let's go. Hey, you're on there. Hello. Hello. Man, I hate it for you guys when you call and you don't say anything. Mazda Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Sean, let's unpack this Fauci stuff for just a minute, man. Let's read a few texts on the Guns and Gear text line. That number is 769-241-1944. I've already had a couple people reach out to me and ask me to send them that clip of the media blaming the unvaccinated. I just retweeted it, or whatever you call it, reposted it on X. Go to @SaveJXN, and you can find it there. I mean, I don't mind sending it to y'all, but help me out during the show. And if you need it sooner, go to my Twitter, and it's there, @SaveJXN. Let me pull up the text line here real quick. Sean, what you made a great point during the break while I'm pulling this up. You said, man, if it was 100% or close to 100%, effective, you would be on the train of get your butts vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you operate on the premise that this is 100% effective at the time, let's say we're just dealing in early 21, I guess is when it started coming out.
Well, let's play that forward and say that it was 100% effective.
Yeah.
Do you think we'd be having this conversation now?
No, it'd be hard to, I think. Right, yeah. I think it'd be hard if they – I think what got the proponents of the vaccine in trouble were telling people that it's 100% effective when it wasn't. And, first I think they said that you weren't going to be able to get it. And, of course, shortly we found out that that was not true. And then they went with, well, you can get it, but you can't transmit it. And then, of course, they did some more research and like, oh, wait a second, you can transmit it too.
Actually, you were shedding and you were more contagious.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so, I think what people get mad about is when they're being lied to. They don't, they're okay if you tell them they could have said this.
Let's say vaccinated people were super spreaders.
Yeah, I mean, well, they could have said this at the beginning. They could have said, hey, look, we got this vaccine. It's working, but we don't know whether it's going to prevent you from 100% getting it or 100% transmitting it. I think if you just been up front, so take it if you want to, don't take it if you don't want to. I think if they just said that, everybody would have been like, okay. I mean, I don't think there would have been all this, But when you say oh, we know 100%, you ain't going to be able to get it, you ain't going to be able to transmit it, you need to take it, and if you don't, you're going to get fired and all this other stuff, all these social consequences that there were to it. So I think that, it's the lying that's the problem. And then, of course, I've had that argument with other people, and they're like, well, they didn't lie, they just didn't know. Well, I'm like, yeah, that's still lying. Saying you know when you don't know is lying, I mean, it just is.
Well, it is, and I think there has to be consequences and repercussions based on the amount of money people made. The NIH, Sean, on these patents, made over $750 million on these mRNA patents.
Yeah, and especially when you're basing it under a false premise, I think is the problem. this all could have been just changed if they'd just been upfront about it. Say, hey, it's really working, but we don't know everything about it, and we don't know for sure if you're going to be able to get it. We don't know for sure, but we think you got a good chance. If they sold it like that, right? At that time, people were so desperate for some sort of vaccine that they would have. I think a lot of people still would have taken it.
I just want to play this tiny little clip here, 10 seconds, of Jimmy Fallon, not Jimmy Fallon. Who's the other one? Used to be on the Man Show.
Not Colbert, but the other. I can't remember his name. Sorry.
Anyway,
it's been a while. I know the Man Show though.
the fat one. I just want to play this here. Jimmy Kimmel.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Rest in peace. I can't wait for him to die. And the first thing I'm going to say is rest in peace, Wheezy.
He's making a Jefferson's reference there?
Either Jefferson or Lil Wayne. I don't know.
I thought Wheezy was from the Jeffersons. Maybe that just tells you how old I am, dude.
Touche. Yeah. All right, let's read some text on the Guns and Gear text line. And look, I'm saying they don't want us to peel the scab off of this. They want us to pretend this didn't happen. They just want to pretend they were on the right side of history, and they weren't.
And then, there was one of those clips somebody talked about. I think Kimmel actually said, "Eat your horse gobbledygook." Well,
that was right there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean yes, okay. You were
ivermectin,
right? I know exactly. Yeah, I mean, you weren't supposed to. Okay, I guess go to the veterinary feed store and get it. But ivermectin didn't win the Nobel Prize.
Yep, the Nobel Prize as an antiviral
and
medicine.
There were tons of doctors prescribing it to people in a human dose. That was acceptable, not a horse dose. But I think there was a lot of shame on people for looking for those other methods that I just thought, a little crazy to shame them like that for doing that.
So they were able to do this state of emergency thing because there was not a medicine allegedly to stop the spread.
Mm-hmm.
But there was in ivermectin.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do the state of emergency to do all the stuff that they did to us. We don't have to run it down. Everybody knows what we're talking about here. Basically, it was the greatest transfer of wealth from the middle class to the upper class in the history of this nation.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have done all that without the state of emergency, the shutdowns, and everything else. So that's why they had to push the ivermectin thing. It's like they didn't anticipate people prescribing ivermectin and people being able to figure out that ivermectin would work.
Yeah, I mean, also the camp initially when they were talking about this is a horse medicine and people were getting a feed store. Of course, I was like, oh wow, that's kind of stupid. Like, why would you go to? I don't think it was a good idea to take a level in animal doses, but once you kind of dug into it and I was reading about it, like, wait a second, there's doctors that are prescribing what's safe for humans to take, and this is a Nobel Prize winning kind of medication. So, my point is, the media was distorting the view of it. Like, there might have been a few people.
They were being paid by Pfizer. Yeah. Every segment brought to you by Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson. They were paid to push this.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm gonna call them out right now. It's why I better not hear anybody over at Super Talk having this conversation today or this week. They had promos with their DJs or whatever you want to call it, host, pushing go get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. They were being paid to do that, I would assume. You know, so I don't want to hear them having this conversation today at all.
I mean, it seems to me like why they, kind of what you're saying, like they're sitting there trying to say immediately shame the whole thing. And because, if you look at the base level and you say, this is your news report, people are going to the feed store to get horse medication. It sounds ridiculous, right? When you say it like that.
Well, they try to spook you, then they lied. Remember that image they posted of people in line at the emergency room in Oklahoma because they had ivermectin poison?
Yeah, something like that.
And it was a photo from the wintertime, and it was in the middle of summer, and they tried to pass it as a current photo. Everybody was in their jackets, bundled up, forgetting it was June.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a complete distortion of the actual facts. And initially I read it, like, wow, this is crazy. Why are people doing that? And again, like, I read into it, I'm like, wait a second. This is this is not exactly what the media is saying it is. So, we talked about this at the break. This all, every issue we talk about boils down to the same thing. You ever think about that?
What is
the media distorts every GD thing,
everything, man.
I was telling you at the break, I was watching an American Revolution documentary last night, and they're talking about the Boston Massacre. And everybody as a kid has seen that painting of all the British soldiers shooting up, and they shoot. Remember, they killed the first, a black man, Crispus Attucks, was the first person actually killed in the American Revolution at the Boston Massacre. And it looks like these British soldiers just massacred all these, of these Massachusetts citizens in Boston. Well, that's not really what happened. What happened was these guys, the Americans started a little riot and were acting like jackoffs and like threw bottles and bricks and, like Kenny would say, at the soldiers were kind of nervous and ended up having to shoot a couple of them, and then they were later went to trial for murder and were acquitted, and John Adams actually represented them, and so but at the time they were pushing that narrative because they wanted to get support for a war, and so the whole public and even I think for generations thought, wow, this was really a massacre when it wasn't.
Yep. Let's take a call on Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on there.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I was just listening to the show, and I know y'all was talking about the Dr. Fauci and the all the propaganda with the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was just thinking, like all the companies that were demanding that you had to be vaccinated. Do you think that they would maybe owe the people maybe like a reapply kind of thing, or who could get sued for this? Because some people weren't able to get jobs because they weren't vaccinated. Me being one, I refused the vaccine, and I was turned down for a few jobs. Now to go a few years later to find out, hey, well, we didn't really need it. It was just a hoax. How does that work?
Well, they were given a ton of protections on these things. But I think you got to go back and look at all that and got to say, you know what, we're going to have to strip your protections, and you, in fact, can be sued for this lie. And I think it has to start with the NIH and Dr. Fauci and work to Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and all these other major companies that had vaccines, and they all need to have their kneecaps sewed off. If you can sue a company for OxyContin and all that stuff and the addictions it caused and all the deaths it caused, you can absolutely 100% should be able to sue these vaccine companies for forcing an experimental vaccine on people and paying for the media to promote it, and then the employers. And this is where I lose. This is where I lose it with the Libertarian Party, is they think it's okay for a privately owned business, to force employees to get vaccinated. I 100% don't. Now I think all those businesses that forced it have absolutely have legal exposure. Actually, I know they're doing the irony in this is they're the only people in this that have legal exposure are the businesses that force their employees to do it after they were basically being forced by the government to do it if they had more than 100 employees or government contracts. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I would love to see a landmark case come out of somewhere to kind of set the precedent on this.
I agree. Hey, thanks for that.
Hey, great call, brother. Thanks. Let's take a break real quick. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Sean Yurtkaran. We're going to shift gears when we come back. I could talk COVID for all week, and that's not what I got Sean in here for. We're going to talk some Jackson stuff. We will be right back. And I will read your text before we get out of the show today. Be right back.